Hi everyone, welcome to Nareen's Life with MS, and it is Super Sunday. By the way, I am Nareen, and today I decided about something. Um, Considering that it is Super Sunday, talk about something that I think finally happened, which is after a month about going back to what my basic routine was, my basic diet was. I think now I feel a little more comfortable with my um, pre-US diet and lifestyle. So I did want to talk a little bit about the diet and how I usually work on the diet now. The one thing I do want to say is that everyone's diet is slightly different. Some things work for them, some other things don't. So I just wanted to, share what I normally get to have on a day-to-day basis, and I do want to, have this conversation with you in regards to what you have and, how you pretty much how your diet works, right? Because a lot of times what ends up happening is we get on a diet and maybe it's not the best thing, and we don't know how our body reacts. So sometimes we do you know use certain diets, or we do get on certain diets which might not deliver the same results that we actually desire. So in a very short way of telling you what my diet is, I would say that there are really no restrictions as such, but I think a lot of my diet does involve uh, things that do not cause a lot of does not cause a lot of inflammation. So what did that mean? What did I actually have to stop? So one of the things that I have pretty much almost stopped completely is dairy. I do still have certain things like yogurt or anything that is on the uh, fermented side of dairy, but normally with regular dairy, especially when it comes to uh, you know your basic milk, cheese, to also pretty large extent I have pretty much stopped that. So that is one thing that I have stopped, just considering that that does end up causing a little bit of inflammation in the body. Another thing that I definitely do not do anymore is uh, you know have a breakfast that is pretty much filled only with fruits, right? I used to do that for a very long time, but that stopped because what ended up happening was I would get a very large sugar spike as a result of just consuming fruits in the morning, and then generally that would uh, cause a pretty big sugar crash, especially in the post lunch time, because all of that sugar would end up running out. And I definitely, it wasn't as apparent to me, but the one thing I did notice was when I did get off this only fruits in the morning diet, I definitely do not have the need to sleep in the afternoon. I mean, yes, do I feel drowsy a couple of times, but I would say that it definitely does not happen where I do need to take a nap, regardless of whether or not taking that afternoon nap, however short or long it is beneficial or not. So that is one thing that I did want to say. So what do I end up normally having, in terms of my diet. So I would say that my diet remains relatively, yeah, I would say it's relatively non-inflammatory. So one thing I do is, I try to make sure that a lot of the carbs that I consume are more on the complex carbs side. So generally I have replaced, my regular bread with usually high protein bread, something that is more on the sourdough side. um, and with that, usually I end up having homemade peanut butter, and then alongside that, a couple of fruits, and then eggs, lots of eggs. I definitely do want to, hammer in taking a lot of, consuming a lot of protein, and then of course have, some kind of green juice, which mostly revolves around having celery, green apple, a few other bits and bobs, and then, um, having nuts. Nuts are pretty important, and of course, also consuming a little bit of turmeric. Generally, turmeric is, known to have, a good amount of inflammatory properties. So I definitely do end up having that. The one thing that I do want to say though is that there is a certain risk of you not overdoing the the turmeric. So I definitely remember that when I was having dairy alongside, so I would have, I'd say, 2 glasses of milk every day, and then I would have milk in other forms. So I was almost having nearly a liter of milk on a daily basis. When I was doing that, I would definitely have, turmeric both in the morning and in the evening, and that was maybe a little too much turmeric and a little too much milk. So I have pretty much, kept turmeric only in my morning meal, or at least breakfast, so that, there is still that anti-inflammatory properties, coming in, and out of that turmeric. And turmeric is definitely one of those things that I do like consuming, because I do think that, it does it does boost certain parts of the immune system, right? To at least make you a little more robust against, the common cold and other such, diseases. So that is one thing I do. And then usually in, during my lunchtime, one thing I do have is I end up having a salad, that at least takes up half the amount of time that I take to, you know, consume my lunch. And that is just because I have to chew through all of those, raw vegetables. Usually my salad consists of, cabbage, usually red cabbage. Then I have beetroot, I have other vegetables, cucumbers, there are seeds involved in it. A lot of times there is certain forms of, you know beans or peas that you know also get involved. There is lettuce, and then usually I end up having, a I either have a vinaigrette kind of, a vinaigrette type of topping for the salad, or I end up having horseradish as, the salad topping, so that, it's not all just vegetables that I'm, eating, and there is some flavor alongside that. Usually I end up having whatever is regular. It ends up being usually some kind of curry with, you know the one time that I actually end up having carbs. And that pretty much covers my entire lunch. After that, for dinner, usually I end up having, a soup. Usually the soup can either be vegetarian or non-vegetarian, and then after that have some stir-fried vegetables alongside, a protein source, be it something like chicken or tofu or paneer, or even quite a few times tempeh. So usually there is a stir fried vegetable that I do have alongside. So that pretty much covers my daily meal. um, my daily meals on weekdays. On weekends, the only thing that does end up changing is that in the morning, I end up having cheat days on my weekends, wherein I have a smoothie in the morning, and the smoothie usually consists of bananas, strawberries or blueberries, alongside oats and yogurt and a few other seeds, so that it's the fruity sweet. uh, so I do have a little bit, I do definitely have a sweet tooth, so that definitely curbs a lot of the cravings I have. So that ends up being my weekly diet. So now, with that being said, I do want to ask you what your diet consists of, and definitely if you do follow certain things that do help in inflammation, or do end up being anti-inflammatory, or do end up having other benefits attached to it, be it natural sugars, complex carbs, maybe high protein, or anything else that you think does help you out. And this can be, of course, targeted to anyone, be it that you might have an autoimmune condition like MS, or you're just trying to you're noticing that there are certain issues that you are having, especially when it comes to digesting, or you know definitely having uh, living your regular lifestyle. So do share your thoughts, do share your insights, your inputs, and let's get the conversation started, so we can all try to have a healthier diet to go forward. And with that said, I hope you've had a great weekend and you're all ready to start the next week. I know that the winter holidays are coming soon, so I do hope that the work pressure is abating a little bit for you. And of course, with that said, good night, and wishing you a great week ahead. Thanks.